So we're going to wait just another 2 minutes before we jump into our agenda. While we're getting started, um, I'll just briefly mention that I'm Sam Tolman. I'm Director for Energy Services for Green Power Technologies, Puerto Rico. We develop small modular scalable hydroelectric projects, particularly in Puerto Rico, but throughout the Caribbean and in some places in the continental United States. Um, we are always looking for partners and we're interested in water resources. And so to any of those ends, feel free to reach out. I'm joined by colleague, friend, conversation partner, Tom King, founding director of Fundación Borincana and managing principal across River Capital.
Yeah, managing partner, managing principal. It's a shadow of what it once was, but still do consulting and hold some investments in there. Yeah.
And this is our monthly conversation. So we're leading this initiative in the Puerto Rico Energy Forum that has a monthly meeting that you're participating in now. We also have some supplementary meetings that are Power Hour with Ron Leonard. We've got an upcoming Energy Forum After Dark meeting that will be scheduled, promoted, and sent out for everybody to participate in. We're hoping to have some recorded material that we are able to share with you all throughout the month as well. And starting next month, we're going to be asking for some sponsorships. So we are doing this because we're interested in the conversation. We're interested in the creating a welcome center and exchange for ideas regarding to energy in Puerto Rico. And we want your support in doing that. And so we'll send that out as well when we send out the show notes and the link to the meeting afterwards. But if you're an individual, if you're here with a company, if you know other people that would be good partners, if you're a nonprofit organization or members of chamber or government offices that would benefit from the conversation here, we encourage you to share the link, share our contact information, and figure out a way that we can promote good work, right? That's the ultimate mission of this group is share success stories. We know there's success in Puerto Rico. We want to make sure the world knows about it. We want to make sure that we're highlighting really cool projects and talking honestly about what the barriers they face were so that we can have more success in the future and make sure that we are encouraging mentorship, encouraging growth, and at the same time figuring out in a very serious manner how to discuss energy on a regular basis with lots of perspectives. So Tom and I are doing this because we're interested in that mission, but we love your support in doing so.
Yeah,
Tom, anything I missed on that intro that you want?
just a reminder. I think for those who this has grown month by month as we're getting the word out. These monthly calls, updates, interviews, discussions are always going to remain open to the public. We are going to be doing and having more content, as Sam has said, Power Hour, other types of things, and so we put together a membership model for that before. Nothing too onerous. Starting levels for company sponsorship is 500. We put in a special category for startup or growth companies at 250. That's for a year. Clearly, if there's other sponsorships, events, programs, etc., there may be more to that. We are an individual memberships, $20 a month. Or 200 if you want to pay in advance for a year. We're going to set that up through a PayPal payment and get that out a little later. As a reminder, Sam and I are not taking any money for any of this. The membership dollars go to help support some of the works and things that we all decide to do together, and to defray some of the cost of using some of the staff time from Fundación Borincana. But other than that, it's aimed at promoting what it is we're trying to do here. For those who may not have been on, as Sam said, I'm the founding director of Fundación Borincana, and it's a nonprofit started in 2018 with co-founders Alejandro Uriarte and Gabriel Perez. and it's focused really on supporting the energy transformation of Puerto Rico, largely through workforce training and technical assistance and other programs. I won't go into to detail here. Many of you are probably familiar. For those who aren't, we do have a website, fundacionborincana.org, and you can learn more about what we do there, or just by tuning in here. Thanks.
So the one other thing that we haven't mentioned is that we're also interested in issue-specific groups. And that means if you have an area of expertise, whether that's on a technology, on a capital structure, on a specific type of project, on regulatory or political matters, we want to leverage your thought leadership, and have some breakout groups. These are going to be much smaller and will be membership required. And Angel Sayas is on the line, who needs no further introduction. I think everybody knows Dr. Power, but his recommendation from a couple of weeks ago was that we have a regular Energy Bureau brief, 1 or 2 pages on what's the latest on a monthly basis out of the Energy Bureau. Angel, I'm happy to tell you we're working on that. We're working on making that as replicable as possible, because there's a lot of things that people depend on the Energy Bureau for, and it can be a little bit unwieldy to wade through their web page and really understand what the latest material out of their dockets are. So that type of thing is something that we want to take on, and something that we need your support for. So that ties in with the membership opportunities, as well as with the specific areas of interest for you. This forum, as the name suggests, is meant to be an exchange of ideas, and that means that Tom and I can talk for a long time, but we really want to hear other voices in the mix about what's happening, what's of interest, and what is happening. Tom and I see a lot of what's happening, but we don't see everything, and so your input is important there. Tom, I think with that, you ready to jump in?
Yeah, yeah. Let's delay no longer.
So we have Ramón Luis Nieves with us, former senator in the Puerto Rican Senate, a lawyer, an electric guitar player, University of Vermont graduate,
Yeah,
as well
I brought my
as
guitar, Ramon, if you want to play later.
in solidarity. We'll have a jam session towards the end. But no, we're the leading author in the initiative for an energy glossary in Puerto Rico. And I think, most people know who you are. If they don't, they will by the end of the conversation. Ramon Luis, I've got one kind of basic question to kick us off. The theme of the conversation today is the political changes in Puerto Rico, and the implications they have for energy. But I think it's worthwhile taking a step back before we get to the recent changes, because we have an audience that's in part off island, but even I've spent many years on the island and talking to people who've spent their whole lives here. It can be challenging to tease apart exactly what the political spectrum is in Puerto Rico and what that means for specific issues. So help us understand, maybe in the broadest sense, what's the difference between Los Populares and PNP, particularly when it comes to energy? They have sort of underpinning ideas that differentiate them, but what is the difference when it comes to energy?
Thank you, Sam, and hi to all the people here in the forum. I congratulate you, Sam and Tom, for having this Puerto Rico Energy Forum, and precisely, it's very important. Maybe what I'm going to say is kind of redundant for our Puerto Rican audience here, but since I guess half of the audience is not from Puerto Rico, it's important to know the difference first before entering the discussion on Puerto Rican politics. And this is a brief summary of what each party stands for. Right now, we have 5 political parties in Puerto Rico. first of all, none of the political parties align themselves as to Democrats or Republicans. So we don't have Democrats and Republicans here in Puerto Rico. There, actually, both national parties have presence here, but it is a very, very small presence, limited presence. But none of the 5 political parties that go into the November election are identify themselves as Democrats or Republicans. That's the first thing that we must understand. Second thing that we must understand is until a few years back, the 3 main political parties in Puerto Rico identified themselves by their goals of a final relationship with the United States. We had an independence party, we had a statehood party, and we have a party that favors the current territorial relationship with the U.S. So what happened was that throughout the decades, you had people that were conservative, progressive, and center of left maybe in all of the parties. So you have people who advocate for independence who maybe are conservative in their values, for instance. Or you have people in the statehood party who favor integration with the United States, but who are liberal in social causes, for instance. So you have this terrible mix of views, but that was until recently. Nowadays, the 5 political parties that are competing here in Puerto Rico have begun to identify themselves more because of the views of social, economic views and proposals that they're bringing forth. That's a change that doesn't come from the top of the parties. That's a political change that's coming from the electors themselves, who are very concerned about the proposals that each party brings to the table that regard to their personal aspirations. So right now we have 5 political parties, as I mentioned. The party in power is the New Progressive Party. The New Progressive Party is a party that basically advocates for statehood. We have the Popular Democratic Party, PPD, who advocates for mostly for maintaining the current territorial relationship. We have the Independence Party that at the same time, the Independence Party has created an alliance with Movimiento Victoria Ciudadana, the Citizens Victory Movement. Both are leftist parties, and they have joined in an interesting alliance. And we have Proyecto Dignidad, the Dignity Project, which is a conservative, mostly religious conservative party. But regarding, apart from the status preferences of that each party prefers, the New Progressive Party has identified themselves more with more, shall we say, conservative proposals regarding several issues, but they also have advocated for liberal proposals. So that's kind of a mess. And the same happens with the Popular Democratic Party, Independence Party, and the Alliance. I call it the Alliance, the PIP, the Independence Party, and the Victory Movement. They are more of a leftist party. And as I mentioned, they started as a conservative religious party advocating for or advocating against LGBT rights, against women's rights, but they have been moving towards a more libertarian position in economic terms of the so-called economic liberty right now. So those are the 5 political parties that we have. As you may note, none of them identify themselves as Democrats or Republicans, which is kind of confusing for people in DC.
So within that landscape, what's the difference between populares and PNPs for energy? Because the current governor is PNP statehood governor. The two chambers of the legislature are populares. The governor was married by Jennifer Gonzalez, another PNP candidate who's a resident commissioner in Washington. And so I want to understand the difference between on an energy standpoint, but broadly, what's PPA for is that the legislation that you helped author was bipartisan in between the two parties. So how do the two differentiate each other for energy? Because from my vantage point, the number one challenge in Puerto Rico, one prior, soon to be former governor, it has been energy. It seems like it's a of everybody. I can't decide.
Sam, I kind of lose you.
Yeah, I think Sam, we're losing you. Maybe turn off your video to save on bandwidth.
Okay, but let me
answer the question. That's a good. It's a good.
Yeah, let me answer the question. Well, I guess this is very interesting. Let's first talk about the in this branch, the statehood party, the PNP. This is very interesting. In this past few years, since Governor Pierluisi started his administration, he in national politics, Governor Pierluisi identifies himself as a liberal Democrat, and most of his positions regarding social issues, for instance, and even energy, are compatible with a liberal Democrat. As you well know, and we will talk about this later too, what's happening in the U.S. In the past 3 years, Puerto Rico has seen an unprecedented collaboration from the DOE and from other agencies as EPA, USDA Rural Development, regarding financial support for renewable energy projects in Puerto Rico mostly. And Governor Pierluisi has aligned himself with that position in energy matters. Having said that, as maybe many of you know, Governor Pierluisi lost his primary against Jennifer Gonzalez. Jennifer Gonzalez, the resident commissioner, identifies herself as a Republican in national politics. But apart from that, she has a different view on Puerto Rico's energy system. She has been a long-term advocate for LNG, for natural gas, for the integration of natural gas. And she is of the view that she wants to, she has proposed diversifying the energy mix of Puerto Rico, which is a code word for integrating LNG, basically, and having renewable power as maybe as an afterthought, as something good to have, but not the most important element of the energy mix of Puerto Rico. And in fact, yesterday she reiterated as much. It's on the news today that she was calling for Jennifer Granholm, for the Secretary of Energy, to stop talking about solar panels in Puerto Rico and start talking about generators. What the DOE will do to strengthen our generation resources. That's a code word for natural gas, right? Really. So we're going to see a shift if in the case that Jennifer Gonzalez wins the election, and currently she's the front runner, or some may argue that she's the front runner right now. We probably will see a shift on Puerto Rico's energy priorities. That and we must consider the fact that according to our energy policy, to Act 17 of 2019, we had to have reached 40% of renewables by 2025. Obviously, everybody knows that that won't happen. That's impossible right now. And we can talk later about why that didn't happen. But it's going to be a fact. We're not going to reach the 40% renewable goal that stated on our law. So the pressure will be next year in how to change the energy policy. And if the Resident Commissioner wins the election, she will probably push for changes in our energy policy to maybe so make the energy goals more flexible and continue incorporating more natural gas into our energy mix. So that's something that we must take into consideration. Going to the Partido Popular Democrático, to the Popular Democratic Party, the Popular Democratic Party, in my view, has had a hard time defining their positions on energy. This is very important because the Popular Democratic Party, as well as the State Party, had a consensus until maybe 2010 or something on just maintaining the energy affairs as they were, maintaining PREPA as it was, and they didn't advocate for a lot of changes. In the State Party, that started to change more than a decade ago, and you had more advocates for privatization of PREPA. In the Popular Democratic Party, on the other hand, that didn't happen in the same way. You had some advocates for privatization in the Popular Democratic Party, but not a lot. However, it was the process to create the first Energy Reform Act, which created the Energy Bureau and started reforming Puerto Rico's energy governance, which is Act 57 of 2014, was quite traumatic. And that law passed, and mind you, that was not a bipartisan law. That was passed by the Populares, by the Popular Democratic Party. It was very traumatic because the main sponsor of the law, which was Senator Batia and myself, as then president of the Energy Committee of the Senate, we had to pass that law, and it was very hard to do it. And the Popular Democratic Party did not assume passing energy reform as a win. So they didn't assume it as one of the legacy of as part of the legacy of the party. And because there was a lot of resentment from PREPA's union members who were also Populares. And for no reason, they resented reforming Puerto Rico's energy governance, but it happened that way. So since the Popular Democratic Party has had so many changes in leadership since 2016, and we have a new candidate for governor, Jesus Manuel Ortiz, who is yet to define. Right now, we're in a moment that it is hard to define yet the Popular Democratic position on energy matters. Mind you, it is very early in the game. We are on the month of June. The primaries have just passed. So the Popular Democratic will probably define its position on energy matters in the next few months. What candidate Jesus Manuel Ortiz has stated is that he wants to create more oversight for the contract with Luma and with Genera. And obviously, he advocates also for renewable power, but the details, exact details of the Popular Democratic position on energy is yet to be known. Regarding going back for a moment to the Statehood Party, the Statehood Party, who remember under the Statehood Party was the creation of the mandate to privatize PREPA. They were Governor Pierluisi maybe made the mistake of not being more forceful, not having much more impact on trying to provide oversight over the private contracts with Luma and Genera, and that hurt him politically in this primary. Jennifer Gonzalez has been quite critical about Luma, but I guess she has taken a more careful position on canceling the contract altogether. Let me move then to the yeah.
So Ramon Luis, let me jump in here really quickly and just, you know, from again from my perspective, and Tom add in here. We see that some people say, you know, we're focused on energy broadly, and then there's some vague, well, some people want a heavier mix in mostly renewable. You mentioned that Jennifer Gonzalez is interested in a heavier, at least initial mix in natural gas. What I still have a hard time teasing out is energy as a broad goal, as we're learning and putting together this forum, can mean a lot of different things. And so, having energy as a goal is a very shotgun style approach towards something that has a lot of very key details in there. I want to, at the end of the day, the strategy is measured in large part by how it's reflected in people's everyday lives, and in everybody's ability to operate businesses, in the ability to grow the economy and whatnot. What can you the question I'm getting to is, you guys, when you were putting together Act 57 10 years ago, had the challenge of designing a competitive, or the outgrowth of what would come from a monolithic, monopolistic style of energy business on the island, that had a lot going for it. And Tom and I have talked about this balance of, what are we ready to do initially? What are we ready to do over the course of time? What needs to be in place for that to actually be able to take place? And it required a balance of creativity as well as prudence, if that could be the right word, with regards to what is actually feasible. Some will say that it's worth having lofty goals and high expectations, but as you started the conversation, we're not going to hit the 40% by 2025. And how do we balance the creative requirements needed to motivate and push forward and incentivize an energy transition, as well as the measured, calculated, here's what's possible from a variety of different perspectives. So, Tom, feel free to jump in there. I don't know if that came to a question mark at the end of that, but progress is measured by how much you progress, right? And how much progress have we made? There's there's many different metrics for that, and I'm not saying we haven't made any, but it is, I think, obviously, based on the changes in the political primaries this last month, I think still an open question to a lot of people.
Yeah, look, I can't. I'm happy to jump in a little bit, but I do want to give Ramon a chance to answer. But to clarify things about time, I think it's important to remember Puerto Rico has had a mountain times 3 to climb. Poverty, lack of internal institutions, bankruptcy, and an energy system that is falling apart at the same time. And we could add several more to that. But it's also important to remember, and this comes back to our conversation about time, the energy transition isn't, and unfortunately many people ignore or just think, going from what we have now to 100% renewable distributed generation and energy justice. It's a process. It's a long and tortuous process. And you're talking about a grid that is fed with 96% fossil. And of that, more than 60%, a little less than 60% of total generation is from oil and coal. Right? So transition isn't from this system, to one day wake up and have, renewable energy. Gas has to play a role in this, right? And some political cover, we need to go from oil and coal to gas and renewables, and then eventually hydrogen, it perhaps in that place, maybe some nuclear, more wind, maybe offshore. I mean, the balances of technology. But the important thing that often gets lost everywhere except maybe at the regulator is that it's a process, and we have to be able to focus on the practical and the doable, and we need a stable system for energy. At the same time, we definitely need to continue to be investing in the distributed energy and the solar systems and the community projects and microgrids and things like this. And nothing is stopping that. There are definitely things slowing it down, but it almost doesn't matter. There's going to be more and more of it, and there's going to be pressure, and there's going to be money. And so, if you want to think about a progress. And on an optimistic note, I take that as an optimistic note. Now, what Ramon has to say about the future of the people who are likely to be in power and how that's likely to impact could affect the speed at which that happens and the balance that we get. So with that as more of a clarification, hopefully, Ramon, you don't disagree with any of that. But if you do, let's hear it.
What I was going to say briefly, and I just something, and I want to mention you that the only party that has disclosed their candidate for governor's position on energy matters is Juan Dalmau from the Alliance, from the Independence Party. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, it broke up a
Can
little
you
bit.
hear me?
Can hear you. Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Juan Dalmau from the Independence Party, I just wanted to let you know, is the first candidate to disclose his first ideas on energy matters, and it's in the webpage of Patria Nueva, which is the Independence Party page. And the first proposal is canceling the Luma and Genera contracts and trying to reorganize the energy governance of I don't know if that means returning to some PREPA type of entity or something that's yet to be defined. They want to prioritize on renewable energy projects, but mostly rooftop solar projects or utility scale projects located in landfills and the other places and brownfields and other places that have already been identified by the DOE. And the third proposal is closing down the AES coal plant, which is interesting because they want to close it like the next day after they come to power. But the coal plant is supposed to close by December 2027. So
Right.
that's
Right.
I just want to mention that.
And by the way, I mean, I think you know this, but it is one of the most consistent and the cheapest source of baseload energy supplying the grid. So, and there's nothing really lined up to take its place. So even 3 years hence or 4 years hence, you could look forward, and without doing something in the interim, you're going to see all in all, it's not going to be a huge spike, but a small spike in the cost of generation, likely. Now, the coal plant, that price does not include the externalities of that coal plant, right? I mean, the environmental record and things are, shameworthy. And so most people will be very happy to see the back of it. But it very well might mean an increase in the cost of overall generation for a little while. Yeah.
Well, I think it also just is partly, this. I see that as a significant challenge that the most articulated energy plan out of any of the political corners is one that, in my estimation, does not balance well some of the different goals that we have laid out, in part because of that law that you and Eduardo Batia put together 10 years ago, which is balancing the rollout of an energy transition in a cost-effective, timely, technologically feasible way that actually reduces costs for ratepayers, for the authorities that are managing it, as well as maintaining a reliable system one of the things, and this has been my sort of a bugaboo of mine, and certainly talked to Tom, Ramón Luis, you and I have talked about this, many others on the call as well, is the importance of utility economics, of making sure that, if we scrap the work that's been done with regards to Luma and Genera, as imperfect as those relationships may be, we are setting ourselves back in terms of attracting investment that's looking for a grid that can manage itself and sustain itself. We can't put ourselves in the situation where we have a failing authority every 10 years because of power that ultimately they can't control. Now, the blend of what goes forward between today and 2050 is seemingly lost by some of the challenges with how do we get 100% renewable now. Tom, as you said, and Ramon Luis, as you said, they want to close AES tomorrow, but we don't have a replacement for the 500 or so megawatts of the cheapest, most reliable power that currently is being supplied on the island. And so it seems to be a consistent thorn in the political side to put a detailed plan together beyond saying I'm prioritizing energy, which good. We want, I think everybody in this forum would like political leadership to focus on energy, but being able to identify 3 priorities or 5 priorities and say that's something that we're absolutely going to get done, I think contributes to the continuity that ultimately is needed, whether it's from the governor's office in Fortaleza or regardless. Continuity in this project has to be a goal, and if we decide every couple of years that we're gonna make some progress and then make a whole bunch of we're going to take a bunch of steps back and reevaluate. I'm not sure what's sustainable in for posterity purposes, for economic purposes, for even environmental purposes, are we making in the energy sector? And so, maybe can you talk briefly about how did you guys balance when you guys were putting together the law? How did you balance those many different pieces of uh, feasibility, regulatory needs, bankruptcy? Actually, let me re-ask the question. Should we have waited to get PREPA out of bankruptcy to do some of the other things that came out of that energy law, or do you see that as concurrent?
The thing is that the first energy reform legislation from 10 years back, that's Act 57, which created the regulator and several other mandates, was created at the same time that PREPA was already insolvent, but in the road to bankruptcy. These were unrelated matters, although for some people they are related because they happen simultaneously. Mind you that 10 years ago, last month, Act 57 was passed and became law. And this day, precisely this day, June 25 of 2014, was the day that then Governor Garcia Padilla sent to the legislature a bill that had to pass both houses today, the same day. Because this is the last day on our Constitution that you have to pass bills in both houses in order for them to become a law, because this is the last session of the year. Mm-hmm. This is the election year. But 10 years back, he sent a bill like at 8 or 9 a.m. in the morning, and we passed it in the Senate and in the House in the same day, because it was the bill creating the Local Bankruptcy Act, which was 2 years later struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court. And why is it relevant? Because in July of 2024, it will be 10 years since PREPA has not paid a single cent on its bonds. It's the same year that PREPA became insolvent. It was already technically insolvent, but that it declared that it wasn't able to provide service for its bonds. So that was those were the challenges. At the same time that we were trying to, and then the next legislature in Act 17, they were trying to reform Puerto Rico's energy policy at the same time that PREPA was undergoing bankruptcy proceedings. Having said that, there are 8 things, and I'm going to mention them quite quickly for the benefit of everybody, that the next governor will have to deal with, and which is very important in order to identify the positions of all of the candidates for governor and all the parties that are competing next November. First, what to do with the Luma contract? There appears to be not a consensus, but one of the main issues of the campaign will be what to do with the Luma contract because of the obviously we have not experienced so many blackouts in our natural lives than in the last few years. I'm not blaming Luma, that the system was already in shambles. But politically, most of the people in Puerto Rico are blaming Luma. So what to do with the contract will be one of the key elements of the political discussion. Some people are advocating for the cancellation of the contract. Others are advocating for following what the contract says in order to then consider cancellation. Second challenge for the next governor. What will happen and whether PREPA's bankruptcy proceedings will be done. We thought that we were near the end of PREPA's bankruptcy case, but last week the Boston Court of Appeals, Circuit Court of Appeals, made a decision that was very important and that changes a lot what the plan of adjustment of the debt deals with. So that's one of the main challenges, whether PREPA will go out of bankruptcy now or during the next term. I guess PREPA's bankruptcy case will get pushed to 2025, and that will lead to then whether we will be paying a legacy charge for the next 35 years. Second, the rebuilding of the grid. And I have to tie that up with what will happen in the US elections. If Mr. Trump wins the election, he will say, hey guys, I authorized you guys 5 years ago more than $10 billion to rebuild the grid. So where's the beef? And obviously, the rebuilding efforts have been quite slow. Some could argue from the government, we have such and such projects authorized, but we have not yet seen its impact on our daily lives. Yep. So that will be a problem. And I don't know if President Trump, if he gets elected, will do something to stop the funds or do something with that. And obviously, if Biden wins the election, I hope that the DOE will continue supporting Puerto Rico's renewable energy efforts. The other thing that Thomas was discussing was the closure of the AES coal plant. And let me be clear about this. This is the public policy of Puerto Rico is to not burn coal to generate energy from 2028. But that was decided in 2019. So the government of Puerto Rico had 8 years to decide how to replace the 450 megawatts of reliable and cost-effective power from the AES plant. And the government did nothing. And that will be a challenge for the next governor, because if you unplug AES, as will happen, because AES will not remain in Puerto Rico, and how will that be of impact to our rates? So that's something important, and to the stability of the system. The other issue that the next governor will face is rooftop solar versus utility scale. This is a debate that's going on. There has been opposition from a lot of organizations, community-based and environmental groups, to utility scale solar. But that discussion will carry over to the next term. And obviously, we have not reached our renewable energy targets. There are projects that are going online probably since next year or so. So that discussion will continue. And obviously, if PREPA does not come out of bankruptcy, it will be a challenge for utility scale developers to obtain finance because your off-taker is on bankruptcy. He's bankrupt. So that's key for PREPA's bankruptcy to get it done with. Another challenge, the IRP, the Integrated Resources Plan. LUMA will be filing the IRP soon, and we will have a discussion, an open discussion on what will happen. And mind you, this IRP will get discussed in the context of non-compliance with the current IRP. So it will be interesting, very important for all of us to participate in the Energy Bureau's process, which obviously will be of impact to Puerto Rico's energy policy and its execution.
Yeah.
Next topic, net metering. And let me tell you something. And I saw my friend Angel Sayas here, Dr. Power. Today at 6:30, we'll have an interesting discussion on his podcast. So you should watch it with Javier Rua and Kathy Conco and Angel Sayas about the current debate on net metering. As most of you know, there was a legislation passed this year, January of this year, Act 10 of 2024, pushing to 2030 any changes to the net metering compensation. That's been challenged by the Federal Oversight Board here in Puerto Rico. And so it's possible that there was going to be a debate over compensation on net metering. So that will happen, and I'll send you the link of the discussion in the chat. But obviously, whether the compensation will get altered or not is going to be a topic of discussion for this election and during the next year too. Close to that. I'm wrapping up. No. LNG versus solar. That will obviously that discussion was being a discussion that is going to come up with more force, in my view, next year because of the differences in how to integrate LNG into the energy mix and what to do with renewable power due to a failure of complying with the RPS of Puerto Rico. And finally, with the possible impact of the Ostos project, which is a subterranean cable from the Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico, right. Which could have the capacity of carrying over 500 megawatts of power from the Dominican Republic, and whether the project will get authorized by the U.S. government and start construction during the next term. So those 10 topics are very important and for each of the political candidates on November's election.
So in that context, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that subterranean cable being 9. I think that is a good overview of where we'd like to see political ideas articulated. One of the things, and I've got a couple of questions. We definitely want to dig into these a little bit more, but we're running out of time here. So just a couple of quick questions. Ramón Luis, do you see energy demand over the next 30 years going up or down?
It's a good debate. Some people say that yes, that is going up, that electrification is an element that will probably push demand up. I'm worried, however, about certain issues that may impact that assumption. First of all, we don't know what's going to happen with our manufacturing sector. there's debate of whether Puerto Rico will adopt the global, I don't know the exact name, but it's a global tax on
Global minimum tax, right?
Yeah, of 15%, when we are right now, we have a 4% tax on manufacture. What would be the possible impact of implementing that? Also, Puerto Rico currently lacks an economic strategy. We haven't seen an economic strategy for the past few years. And if that lack of strategy will probably has to do with the fact that since Hurricane Maria, Puerto Rico has been dependent on the disaster economy side of things. We have FEMA, we have a lot of companies doing business in Puerto Rico based on the disaster recovery monies. What will happen when those monies, when that funding is done? Puerto Rico so that could have possible impacts on energy demand, as happened in 2006, since the manufacturing benefits of Section 936 of the IRC got done. We saw a drop on the energy demand, which is and thank you, Jaime. And the obvious population decreased. Jaime Silva is mentioning here in the chat. We have seen a drop in the percentages of birds and in Puerto Rico. Schools are closing because we have no kids here. So that could have an impact.
Yeah, it's a serious. It sounds almost like a straightforward question, and I don't mean it to be any type of gotcha, but it ends up being fundamental to the PR 100 study that just came out about where do they forecast the load to go. It is the basis of PREPA's bankruptcy and this First Circuit of Appeals ruling that says, well, you know, if the expectation is that rates are going to go up with demand going up, then you'll have more in the coffers to be able to pay back bondholders. So it ends up being a fundamental question about how does LUMA leverage the federal monies available, or to whoever that are available, to redesigning a grid for generation, transmission, distribution across the whole island for the energy users that are out there. The other and I've got two other things to say, and then I'll be done for the moment, which is I would encourage everybody looking at the transition to not be thinking in the this versus that type of framework. You know, the transition isn't a light switch in the sense that we're just going to flip it and we'll be there. And so the transition will require both rooftop and utility. It will require, and you know, AES is known certainly in Puerto Rico for the coal plant, but they have two projects in the first tranche, and they have a solar farm, and they're certainly not going anywhere in Puerto Rico. They're just going to be changing their the way people perceive their participation in the energy mix. But even they're very clear that it's not coal versus solar. It's a transition that will have both in the mix at some point in time. We are hoping to be speaking next month about the IRP process, because that's going to take on many of these issues with LUMA, with HENERA, with the Energy Bureau, and some of the regulators that are managing that process, so that we can understand in a detailed manner, what is the integrated resource plan for the next 5 years or 3 years before we start designing it another one. All of this is to say that, you know, we will not be meeting the 2025 goals of 40%. And this is where, you know, I've got one last question. And Ron, I see your hand up. Angel Sayas had his hand up for a moment. We will get to you, but let us finish this hour with Ramón Luis, and then we'll take some open mics. But Ramón Luis, given the fact that, you know, we did not hit the first milestone, or we will not hit the first milestone, do you foresee policy change that rearranges the goals of the island, or puts them in clearer terms for all of the different players, now that we have a better sense 10 years later of who those players are and how they interact together?
I see. I don't have a crystal ball, but I think
we won't hold you to it. So just your
No. I'm writing it down.
Yeah, but I see that next year there will be a discussion on whether to relax or change the Puerto Rico's renewable energy goals. There's a push for uh, relaxing the push for 100% renewables to okay, let's let renewables keep growing, but let's focus on stabilizing the system and integrating more LNG. That will happen, probably will be reflected on legislation. I have to tell you, tell everybody, maybe you are not aware of this, but there's a bill that passed 2 days ago in the House of Representatives. That's House Bill 1263 that pushes for changes the renewable energy goals of Puerto Rico and makes them more uh, aggressive, I guess. And so we have to watch out to what will the Senate do today with that bill. Ron, I guess you have a question, right?
Well, I actually have a comment, and the comment is to you, and I want to thank you. And the reason I'm thanking you is that you're a pioneer. And I can tell that you're a pioneer by the spears and arrows protruding out of your back for all the work that you've done. And I also would like to mention Larry Salhammer, who's an engineer, and you know him. He did a yeoman's job, just like you did on Act 17, as did Senator Batia. And all these things together have the impetus of us having this discussion. And what I comment on in this whole process is everyone has an opinion. I prefer the facts. And the facts can be found in this case if you look at the Power Hour recording from last week with a study done by my two best buddies, Doctors Perez and Perez. That's Mark Perez from Clear Power Research and Dr. Richard Perez, who is working with the International Agency, doing this all over the world. And what we propose to do is a couple of months study based on the DOE taking all the information out from PREPA under the 2-year study and examining the grid the way they've examined it, I think 15 grids all across the world so far, and actually coming up with the proper formula to implement renewable energy in Puerto Rico. And the numbers that he's gotten from all sorts of different grids, including islands grids, have been amazing. And I think that's a path forward.
Tom, I want, yeah, and anything you want to add? Otherwise, I know that Angel had put his hand up at some point, turned his camera on. For those before Tom, I give you an opportunity here. I've been talking too much, but Angel Sayas, follow him on Martes Informativo. It's an excellent conversation. If you want a Spanish language, regular weekly update on a whole variety of topics, it's an excellent place to go. So he put the link in the chat, and I encourage you guys to check that out.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Ramon. That was really good hearing about those political views. My comment just popped up quickly when you asked the question, Sam, about the laws and thinking about waiting on the bankruptcy of PREPA or no, and then doing the law. It was quickly that it popped up in my mind. I said, well, never something happened if we just allow PREPA to do it, period. Starting with law or Act 114 for net metering in 2007 and the history all around since today, everything has been done and pushed by the legislature, basically. If not, nothing happened. And that's why I just pop up quickly. I'm sorry I didn't know about the rules, but again, I just want to make a comment because if not, we will not be today where we are.
Yeah.
Actually, I just remember, and Ramon has been was the author also of Law 133, 2016, and that was a pushback to PREPA on allowing the meters and continue doing evaluation without really affecting the meter. So we've seen all around the laws in Puerto Rico really pushing to get this. Now my concern is I think we're in a perfect storm. I think we got everything. I don't think any jurisdiction in the States have everything at the same time in Puerto Rico. So it's a huge challenge. It's obviously there's not gonna be a right or wrong decision. I think we'll get through all this, but it will not happen, in 1, 2, 3 years, 5 years. It's gonna happen 10 years, 15 years. And this is, I think, the message we need to send out there. I think the key will be how can we as an industry could continue pushing so that our politicians really align to what the Puerto Rico Energy Bureau is doing, because everything is in that head. And I think we need to really help and get involved in those decisions so that then we don't talk, but if you're not involved, then we'll not be ready to really have a great position for Puerto Rico. So that's my conversation or my comments.
Yeah. It occurs to me that some of the background in the movie Life of Brian is an interesting metaphor for Puerto Rico and what it's going through with the different groups. If you haven't seen the movie, it's funny. I recommend it. But I look, guys, thanks. I know we really want to speak more with Ramon on this list of items that he put. We had considered doing an after dark session, a Puerto Rico Energy in 60 minutes on a more open mic basis. Smaller group. We want to have these regularly. I think originally we talked about doing it tonight, but I think we'd forgotten that Angel, so Tuesday nights are martes informativos, so those are off limits. But we'd love to schedule something else. I think to follow up on this list of topics, maybe the next week or two, if you're free around 6 p.m. at some point, Ramon. I'd love to talk more about net metering. Love to talk more about the First Circuit ruling and what that implies. Strangely enough, from a legal standpoint, it was probably the right ruling, but it's not. The debt is still unpayable, so we got to figure out a structure to make a settlement happen. It's an unfortunate delay. Net metering is vitally important to continue in some form or fashion, but eventually it's going to need to be changed and amended, and the regulator is the right one to do it. The FOMB sticks their neck in, perhaps, and the legislature perhaps sticks their neck in where properly it should be the regulator. I think I'm not the only one who thinks maybe the biggest success out of all of this, and we lay it at your doorstep, Ramon. So thank you. Is the creation of the regulator, and then the further empowerment in the subsequent laws. It's working. I think I don't vote in Puerto Rico, but I think the governor candidate who stands up and says, "Look, there's a lot of issues here, and we can't sort them all out. But my role and what I want to see is I'm going to give the regulator the resources that it needs that it doesn't have now to tackle the myriad of problems. It's doing a good job. Let's get behind that. Let's do this thoughtfully, and let's let our creation help us do the work that we need to get done for Puerto Rico."
I think that's such an important point, Tom, and it echoes what Angel was saying. and it's, Ramon, when you laid out those 9 or 10 points, expectation setting is so critically important, and sometimes it's not politically attractive. And so making sure people know there are different jurisdictional authorities in the mix, that it is a decades-long or generational challenge, that even just leveraging some of the federal funds is not, they're not just there, but at the same time, the fact that you've obligated funds doesn't reflect in my ability to keep the lights on in an apartment. So how do we make sure that all of this is articulated so that, and just going back to how we started this hour, this is very much why we started this forum. We want to make sure that we're promoting the progress that we know is being made, but we're also being honest and serious about there are no shortage of challenges to make sure that it's done in the most effective way and people are comfortable with hard truth. I mean, even just the fact that one way or another, ratepayers will ultimately be paying some part of PREPA's debt. And that is something that needs to be articulated at some point very clearly. And it's not good news. It doesn't make anybody look good. But I think the people who are on the island, who live on the island, who want to be on the island, there's the everybody deserves an honest view of what's going on with regards to the challenges ahead of us, and be able to celebrate collectively the progress that's being made. I know that we are running past our time here, and I failed to mention it at the beginning, Tom, and that's my mistake. We're starting a cartoon caption contest, and so let me just first say that if you are a cartoonist or you know a cartoonist, reach out because we'd love your ideas. We are not cartoonists, but we have a cartoon that I'm going to share my screen for, and for next month. I will encourage everybody to submit a caption idea, and we'll announce the winner next month's meeting, particularly when we're talking about the IRP. No holds barred. We want to hear your ideas about what the appropriate caption for this cartoon is, and I'll leave that up for a second. We've got a couple of things going on coming up. Tom mentioned that Ramón Luis, we'd love to follow up with you in a more casual setting. We're going to have an energy forum after dark, where I can tell you at least Tom and I will have an adult beverage in our hands, and we encourage everybody else who is able to become a member and join us for that more intimate, informal, but no less serious and engaging discussion about a topic of the day. And we look forward to continuing to engage. If there's topics that you want to lead, again, reach out. If you have an expertise in something that you want us to really set aside effort and energy for, let's hear about it. You know, we've got a list of ideas on how we want to move forward, but it's a forum, and we want to take on board your thoughts. One of those ideas that, you know, we talk a lot about generation, we talk a lot about the authorities, we talk about policy today. You know, I think it's really important to understand the end user, and to that effort, you know, Gaudin Sanabria would love to have the Manufacturing Association's perspective on here. You know, obviously having AES's perspective on here, all of that is really valuable. Ignacio, you guys are doing great work at Glen International as well. We want to make sure that we are providing the people with as broad a perspective on what's happening in energy as possible. So, Tom, final thoughts?
No, I think you summed it up well. We will get information out to all of you on the membership portal. We're still setting it up through PayPal. I think we're going to set it up as a separate campaign. So yeah, I mean, we'll be in touch with that, and times for other meetings, and you know, once we get this going, we'll obviously be looking for feedback and what members would like to do. You know, as Sam has said, you know, one thing I'd like to see going is a group focusing on microgrid regulation. We need to get that moving, and it's not a high priority for the regulator at this time. Too many other things that are taking precedence. So the faster we get some sense out of that, the faster we can start seeing some investments in the various types of microgrids in Puerto Rico. Lots of other stuff, but that's just, you know, from my standpoint. But
I think that's perfect. We'll leave it there. Ramón Luis Nieves, thank you for being a part of the Puerto Rico Energy Forum.
And before I go, 15 seconds. Probably the most important idea that we must think about in proposing to the political candidates is an officer on the executive branch, cabinet level officer in charge of energy. There's nobody in charge. We don't have anybody. That's not the role. Making sure that the trains go on time is not the role of the regulator. The regulator has another role. So that we must think about it. Having a person with a cabinet level powers to make sure that energy policy is properly implemented.
And we call that the energy czar in New York.
Yep.
All right. So
Thank
thanks
you
for the
very-
opportunity and have a great day.
Thank you,
sir.
Thanks,
Be well.
everyone. See you next month.